There was a 9-hole course in town that was coming up for lease. We tried to get it. There was 3 people bidding for it. It was the people that ran the pool and then 2 golf operators. Who do you reckon got it?
The pool.
The pool, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So then I basically turned to the guy in my foundation. I said, you know what, stuff it. We're going to build a course at 7 Mile Beach. So it started off a bit of a spite project. But I always knew the potential of the place. And that's when I actually seriously looked at, because I just knew the land was screaming for a golf course. Then it got to the point where it's like, it's done.
That is Mathew Goggin, the founder of 7 Mile Beach, my guest today on Remarkable Regional Business. And this episode's really special because I got to go down and film this episode on the golf course. The team there were incredibly hospitable, and Matt shares his story of starting a golf course from scratch, a dream he's had for years and years, and where it's going in the future. Already rated in the top 10 courses in Australia. This is a stunning story and an amazing golf course. I hope you really enjoy it. Matt Goggin, mate, thank you so much I usually say thanks so much for coming into the studio, but thank you.
Welcome to my studio.
Yeah, thanks for having me at your place.
Yeah.
This is really, really cool, mate. I really appreciate you making the time to talk to me and share the story of 7 Mile
Absolutely.
Golf. So, let's talk a bit about 7 Mile Beach itself, the course. Well, I always ask, what is the business and what does it look like? But tell me, what is the course? What is 7 Mile Beach?
Well, it's a public golf resort at the moment. So it's just green fee players. But it's really based around having a world-class golf course. I don't think you try and do a golf resort based on an average piece of property. So really what drew me to this was the property.
Okay.
I grew up here and it was screaming for a golf course, and then it never happened, and then I decided, well, maybe I'll have a crack.
I love that. We'll dig into the origin story in a little bit too. I'm really keen to hear about what made you embark on this journey. But let's start with a little bit about what makes the course unique, the layout. Tell me a little bit about the course itself.
Yeah, there's 3 things you want in a great golf course. You want interesting topography, great views by the water, and built on sand. They're sort of like the 3 key ingredients for any sort of like really great piece of land for golf. And this has all 3, so it's sort of screaming out for it.
What, for those who are not golfers and don't understand course design and development, why sand?
Just because it's easy to move around. You can manipulate it. It's a great neutral substrate to grow grass on. And it's more the cheapness in building. You know, you don't need to put too many amendments into the soil, or you're not dealing with rock or anything like that, which can be really expensive during the construction phase.
Yep.
And if you don't like something, you can just change it.
Yeah.
While if there's rock or it's clay,
it
costs a lot of money to make changes. So you've got a little bit more freedom for the guys building the course to build what they want.
Yeah, I bet. What are some of the elements that make it unique in terms of a course?
It's really the fact that it was the weirdness of the pine plantation across the street that blew over and started seeding all the sand dunes. So instead of them sort of being broad and natural and kind of what you'd expect to see, the pine trees trapped a lot of the sand and made them very irregular and choppy, which makes it much more visually interesting and unusual. Wow. So it makes a really unusual site as well as a perfect site to build golf. So you have all this eye candy everywhere and a perfect substrate to build a golf course. So it's unique. Yeah,
it really is. I had the pleasure of playing here in January, and one of the things that struck me was the sound that the tees and the tee boxes and the greens make. It's quite what makes that hollow kind of sound when you land a ball.
It's sand and the fescue. So like Tassie's that perfect sort of location for cool winter grass. So like golf is supposed to be played on this type of turf. And we always talk about grounds for golf, right? And a lot of times golf courses are put not the ideal places, but where people want them. But there's a certain band across the world where there's sand and cool climate, which is famously Ireland, Scotland, and the UK.
Yeah.
And, Tassie was screaming out for it because we have very similar weather.
Yeah.
But no one was really building any golf courses here of any quality until Richard Sattler and Barnbougle. So that was sort of the inspiration for this place. And
wow.
and that's how we've ended up where we are, really.
Wow. What about the design and the designers? Can you share with me a little bit about who you got on board to
Yeah, so
design?
I've been friendly with Mike Clayton since I was a kid. I was a professional golfer. My mother was a really good player. He used to, he knew my mum when I was coming up. He kind of helped me out a little bit, and then he got into golf design. So when he was involved in the Barnbougle project, which is sort of like the most, one of the famous courses in Tasmania that kind of started this whole sort of coastal destination resort thing, if you like, in Australia.
Yeah.
He was involved. He was one of the co-designers of that golf course. So when I was sort of looking around down here, I was familiar with the property. I grew up here. I've known it since I was a kid. But when I actually got to thinking about whether it was any good for golf, I didn't know what I was looking at, right? So I talked to Mike about, well, can you come down and have a look? And he came down and had a look, and he's just like, yeah, it's awesome.
You got confirmation from
so I
someone
got
who really
confirmation
knows.
from Mike. So I was always involved with Mike Clayton. So he had his company sort of changed and ebbed and flowed, and then probably when we were actually looking to build the golf course sort of 5 years ago, he'd started a new partnership with a guy called Mike DeVries, and it was Clayton DeVries and Pont. So Mike was the main designer with Darius up at Cape Wickham. So you basically had the brainchild between Cape Wickham and Barnbougle, and I thought, well, that's a perfect mix for them to come down and do this. And I mean, most importantly, they're good guys, and I love working with good people, so that made it a lot easier.
If you're going to spend that much time on a project with someone, you're going to want it to be.
And it's also, they're in an interesting point in their careers, or the sort of where their company, it was their first project for that company.
Okay.
So they're trying to get their new brand and their new company going. So they saw this project as a huge opportunity. So I knew that by hiring Mike, like Mike was down here for 18 months. Now it's really unusual to get sort of the main guy, like just take regular architecture. You know what I mean? A lot of times it gets handed off to you might get a meeting with like whoever the architect principal is, but do they actually do anything? Well, here's a scenario where the principals were here all the time and they just obsessed about it. So you're getting the absolute best of the best to do it for you, which is, you don't often get that.
What are some of the complexities with designing, like architecting?
Well, it's how long's a piece
course?
Of string, that question.
Okay.
Because there's the actual challenges of construction.
Yeah.
It's a little breezy today, but you imagine it blows twice as much as this, and you're constructing something in sand, it doesn't wait around for you, it blows away. So you'll have days where Mike will build a green that he thinks perfect.
Yeah.
Then the next day we get smashed with high winds, it all blows away and he's got to rebuild it. So same thing when you're seeding, same thing when there's all these sorts of complexities, and that's just with the actual construction.
Wow.
Our golf course architecture is actually really interesting because there's so many elements to it, because you've got different abilities. You've got people who are, professional golfers like myself, and you've got people, like yourself.
Like me.
Maybe not professional golfers.
No.
So it's how can you build something that's engaging for everyone? Because something that is really engaging for you might be really boring to me.
Yeah.
But something that's really engaging to me might be too difficult for you. Or, your classic example would be, the 17th hole at the TPC in America, that famous Island Green, right? So that can be a straightforward shot for me.
Yeah.
Well, it would give you guys fits, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like, because if you don't hit a good shot, you're in the water and you're starting again. So the main concept they wanted to do was make it engaging for everyone. That was the other one. The other thing is on a big site that has a lot of elevation change, is like, how do you move people through the area without making it too taxing? And how do you get the tees and the greens and everything? Because the biggest issue you have is the tendency is you want to get up high to see everything, because you've got these beautiful views, you can see the water behind us and all that sort of stuff, and it's magnificent. It's like, so the temptation is like, I want to get up on top of this dune, I want to get up on top of this dune. But when you actually go and do that, and then there's a walking experience, that's miserable, because you're just like a billy goat, you know what I mean? So it's having the restraint and the confidence that we don't have to go to every high point. We can connect these tees and greens and make it a lovely walk. So that you sort of have the routing's the main aspect, and then you have the execution, which is the actual building. But the routing is the telling the story, hitting all the points. Really good routing will take you on a journey through the site as if you were walking it on a bushwalk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So on this site, you sort of have the beach side,
Yep.
the midsection, and the high section.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily just want to spend all your time in one and not in the other.
Yeah.
But you also need to flow between them. And this is sort of what, the genius of the routing is taking you from the high points to the beach, taking you away from the beach, back to the beach. You can hear, it's sort of like it's being able to see the water, but not hear it.
Yep.
Be able to hear it and not see it, being able to hear it and see it. All those sort of stimulations when you're playing add to the overall experience. So it's not just, so it's actually quite a broad canvas and a lot of things to think about.
Yes.
That is, most people don't understand that. It's kind of like, that old thing, it when you see it.
Yeah.
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 So you know a good routing because it just feels right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's funny, simplicity is often the same, right? Some people see something and they go, this just makes sense. It didn't start making sense, right? It had to be designed and a lot of thought put into it to make it that simple.
Exactly. And there's so many little elements that you don't understand as a sort of just someone who's playing, that they've basically orchestrated for you.
Yeah.
So it's where they're getting on the second and playing the right tee, and every day there's like a little rocky outcropping in the water that produces like white water wash, right? Yeah. So that's just above where the flag will sit all the time. Like that's intentional, right? They didn't just do that for, so the shot into 16 is framed exactly behind Mount Wellington. So the green could be all those sort of things matter, and it's and it's taking in all the long views, all the internal views. So it's actually, I'm always amazed they don't win landscape awards because you see someone do a playground. It's like, what an amazing playground. It's like, well, compare that to this. Everything that goes into this, there's just not a really great understanding, but they do, and it's really talented.
Yeah, it is.
And then you can probably see him banging along in the background over there and hear him. Well, that's Mike, the guy who built the golf course. He's building a new tee for 18, and that's he'll spend all day. He loves nothing more than getting on a bulldozer at 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. and he's the happiest man in the world.
Amazing. Yeah. That's dedication right there, and a love for your craft. I want to know, what are your favourite elements about the course?
The walk is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm always, you sort of take for granted how stunning it is. Like, I always enjoyed the first time I'd take people up to the top of the hill and see it, because even people that live in 7 Mile Beach have no idea the size and the scale of all these dunes.
It's hidden away down here.
Yeah, it's hidden away. And even though I grew up as a kid coming down here all the time, you didn't know that was back in there. And you especially didn't know, once we cleared the trees, how spectacular it would be. So sometimes you take that for granted. And I was just sort of wandering around the other day. It was like glass out in the water, and it's beautiful. And you're just like, this is crazy how pretty this is.
Wow.
I'm just seeing all the problems. That grass is there, that needs to be there. Why is this not right? And then you sort of stop and you look at it and it's like, no, it's pretty cool too.
You know what? This is a great spot.
I do love that it's there's sort of a trend in golf, especially destination resort golf at the moment, to make them very broad, very easy. Sort of, there's lots of eye candy. It looks pretty, but it's not actually, you don't actually have to play good golf. Yep. You know what I mean? And everyone has their best score. Everyone's like, wow, this place is great. No, this place is legit golf.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that. And, I think most people that play a lot of golf enjoy the thrill of pulling off a crazy shot. Like, I'll go back to the TPC 17th hole. Like, everyone's seen that island green that's watched golf. Yeah. There's nothing more thrilling than hitting it on the green. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's your 6th try, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Well, if there was no water there, it's a pretty
not thrilling
at all.
No.
So I really enjoy the thrill of this golf course and just the sheer beauty.
Yeah, it is phenomenal, and you would get as well, talking weather-wise, like the challenges in weather being very windy, but like when we played earlier in January, no wind at all, and it was what a surprise.
And that's another thing you got to take into do when you're doing the routing, right? It's like you don't want to be playing, like a lot of links golf courses are on the beach in the narrow tracts of land because it's the farmland historically that was usable, and the dune land wasn't usable for farms, so it became sort of golf land. So when you sort of go along the beach, it's always like 9 out, 9 back. So a lot of golf courses you play 6 holes downwind, or 6 holes into the wind, or 7 holes with it off the right, and 8 holes with it off the left. Being able to turn around and go in different directions and have different winds and then produce, you're never really just going in the same direction for more than 2 holes. It creates that variation and that interest where you never feel like you're just playing into the wind all the time, or conversely downwind all the time.
I love what you're saying about the routing as well, because you obviously, there's no carts. Like you're not
No.
going to drive a cart around here. So you really got to make it one, walkable and an enjoyable walk, as you were saying before.
And there's even things like the paths between. So there's grass the whole way, So there's always a grass path. You're always on a grass path. The temptation is to be economical and go, well, I'll just go from there straight down to the fairway.
Yeah.
But that doesn't tell a nice story. You want to weave people around because if you were walking down that dune, you wouldn't go straight down it because it'd be too steep.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? You'd like to so that's sort of the stuff they think about that, you take for granted, but it adds to the overall experience.
Yeah, it sure does. You mentioned a little bit about the inspiration. Tell me more. What was in your mind? What was the brief to Mike when you're saying, I think this would be great for a golf course? What did you want it to look like and be?
Just build the best golf course possible, which you would think is sort of like the obvious thing to say, but it is amazing when owners, when they want to have a bit more of an impact, where it's like, well, I want to have the clubhouse here and I want to make sure we get back there for returning nights. I want the 1st, 9th, 10th and 18th.
Yep.
Well, now you've all of a sudden forced the architect into because a lot of sites are not broad enough to do that. So now you got to put the clubhouse somewhere it's broad enough. You compromise the whole routing. So my sort of style is to defer to experts.
Yep.
I'll massage things as I get more knowledge myself and ask questions. The way I sort of work with them was like, you guys, I trust you, I've hired you to do this, so you do what you do and I'll get out of the way. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to have any opinions. And the way I sort of would convey my opinions would be talking about golf course architecture. It's like, I was just at Old Town, right, which is a Tillinghurst course, that has a lot of these internal greens. The greens have a lot of internal contour, right? Which is unusual, where a lot of the times, and I know this is probably going to get too golfy, you know what I mean, for your business thing. But you basically, sometimes if you short side yourself, which is you miss it on the side the flag is, generally that's the worst place to hit it.
Yeah.
But with courses that have a lot of internal contours, you hit it and you play away from the flag, all of a sudden there's a contour that makes it harder.
It's a journey to get there.
Exactly. So sometimes short-siding yourself is the best place to go. But that's an unusual unusual approach. And I would come back and sort of say, I love this green at Old Town. He's like, well, you're going to love the second hole here. So they're always thinking about it. Right. But then I'm sort of, that's I talk about what Mike Kaiser would say to the guys at Bandon Dunes all the time. And that's sort of like the way we talked about the course without directly saying, no, you can't do that. It'd just be like, I like this influence, I like that influence, and get them thinking about it. But at the end of the day, I defer to the expert always.
Yeah, I love that. Is it the second that has a really big hump in the middle of the green, like a big mound? Is that?
No, it's more a sort of, it has sort of 4 pockets with a bit of a tier in the middle. It doesn't have a huge hump in it.
Right.
But the middle does push it away into all the 4 corners as opposed to the coming in from the exterior. But yeah, I mean, the greens are, and the thing about greens is that's where you can really challenge good players. But for bad players, it's kind of the same. Do you know what I mean? If they're a long way away, they generally 3-putt.
Yep.
If they putt it from off the green to within 20 feet, they get down in 3.
Yeah.
But for a good player, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, not getting up and down can be, it's not a given. So that's that balance. You make it easy for what they call a bogey golfer to get down in 3. You make it really hard for a tour pro to get down in 2. Now you've struck that balance.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I love it. So tell me a little bit about the location. Perfect for golf.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit to get here. It feels like it's off the beaten path. Was that something that was intentional or that you've embraced?
Well, I mean, it's compared to Barnbougle, how hard is it to get to Barnbougle? Compared to Cape Wickham, how hard is it to get to Cape Wickham?
Much harder.
So we're 20 minutes from downtown Hobart and we're 7 minutes from the airport.
Yeah.
And, when we get to finishing the road, it'll just be a straight shot.
Yeah.
The nice thing is it does feel remote, even though you are literally 22 minutes
away
from downtown.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you want to do this and stay at the Tasman or Mac 1 or even stay at Sapphire and catch a helicopter down here and do it absolutely 6 stars, you can.
Yeah.
But if you just want to, have an Airbnb just around the corner, rent a car and do it on a budget, you can. You're not, a lot of the destination resources, they trap you into you have to take their offering.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So if it's like dietary or just, hotel preferences or any of those sorts of things, the biggest asset we've got is Hobart.
Yeah.
Because it's such a fantastic city and 20 minutes away.
Yeah. No, that's very true. You've been open for a few months for public play now. What are we, 6 months?
Yeah, so
like
December
that?
was our full opening.
Yes.
We did 18 holes. Before that, we did like a little preview play to sort of, for all the early adopters and the people that are excited, we got them out here and had like a little 11-hole loop and did that to try and keep building the momentum.
Yeah. What's the feedback been since opening for
I mean,
18
everyone
holes?
loves it.
Yeah.
Like everyone legitimately loves it. It's I'm always shocked people turn up. You know what I mean? I just, that's just my natural. Is anyone going to come and play? So that's been and the numbers have been great, and we're intentionally trying to focus really hard on the hospitality side of things, because that is something that Australian golf courses do very poorly. So we're trying to be really hospitality focused. I think the new luxuries are, it's not exclusivity, it's privacy.
Yep.
It's time and it's space. And that's what Tasmania has in space. Time and space, we have that. That's like part of our ethos down here.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important not to have the golf course too busy, not to try and make it feel like you're just clipping a ticket, getting pushed through like a piece of cattle.
Yeah.
We have 15 minutes between tee times. We're limiting at the moment to only 70 people a day.
Yep.
So you come out here and you feel like it's your country club experience where you can take your time and enjoy it. We don't want you to play slow, but you're not feeling pressure from in front or pressure from behind. And we just want to have really serious Tassie hospitality.
Yeah. That's really nice. What are some of the other little things that you'd put in the bag of good hospitality that you've been intentional with?
Well, I hate nickel and diming people.
Yeah.
So the classic thing is you turn up, it's like you got to pay for range balls, you got to pay for a bag of teas, you got to pay for your pool cart, and then they're getting you for a bottle of water and for a snack and all that sort of stuff. So we charge a little bit more.
Yeah.
But your pool cart's included when we move our temporary facility to the range. Your range balls, there's tees, pencils, markers, sunscreen. You want to mark your ball, you do all that.
Yeah.
Then when you're on the golf course, there's a halfway house that's fully stocked with snacks, whether it's fruit,
wonderful
snakes. We've got killer pythons, we've got Freddos, we got and the biggest hit's been the Valhalla choc top ice creams, because they're my personal favourite.
Oh mate,
so
what an addition! I tell you what, when I came across that, it was like a gold mine. I was like, there were snakes in there, and something so simple, but when someone doesn't expect it, and it's just like the most welcome surprise.
Yeah, so
it's fantastic.
Yeah, so it's sort of like you prepay. So when you get here, you get to enjoy the day and you're not constantly tapping.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I hate the constant tapping. Tap, tap, tap.
Yeah.
Just put your wallet in your bag. If you want to buy some merch, great. If you want to buy a beer afterwards, fine. But the rest of the time, you're done.
It's fantastic. Yeah. It's those little touches, I think, that are uncommon. And they take some intentionality and working it into the business case and the numbers. But if you do it well, they're the things that stick in someone's mind, right?
Yeah, and you learn along the way. It's like, okay, we have the full chocolate bars and that sort of stuff, and then you see people coming out with like their shirts full of them. You're like, okay, well, maybe we go to Freddos and maybe we go to snakes, because things you can't just fill your bag with, and that's where the ice creams are great. Because like, how many ice creams can you take with you?
You can't.
So from the business side, you're always like mindful of that.
Genius.
But then you find the right things, the right sort of mix of stuff that you can do it.
I love that. That is so good. All right, Matt, what on earth compelled you to go on this journey? What was the first moment of this became a thought in your mind?
It's a long story, but I guess the short story would have been, I grew up playing golf at Royal Hobart, which is just down the road. We would go to this sort of day use area because we didn't, stuffy Royal Hobart Golf Club. We were kids. We didn't want to go upstairs, pull our socks on, take our hats off, even though so we'd come down to this burger joint just down here. We'd have a hamburger and we'd look out over here and we'd see all the sand and the sand dunes. We'd wonder, well, why isn't Royal Hobart here? So like Royal Hobart's only 4 kilometres along the beach. It's inland about 500 metres, so it misses all the cool dunes. It's just dead flat.
Wow.
Totally fine, but not very interesting. So we always thought, why is that here? So fast forward a little bit longer, and Mike Clayton's telling me about Barnbougle Dunes, and this is probably in 2004. And I said to Mike, why would you build a golf course up there? Build it at 7 miles, right near the airport. It's perfect, right? So we sort of like laughed about that and talked about it. But he showed me the pictures of Barnbougle, and you're like, oh, okay, no, Barnbougle's
pretty
pretty good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's a good spot.
So then fast forward another sort of 5 or 6 years, I had my foundation, and I was trying to do something around entrepreneurship. I always felt like the medical stuff and all that sort of was great, but we sort of have this sort of down in Tassie, I always had this feeling that like good ideas, like they can come from anyone. It's just whether you can find them and nurture them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just because, we sort of have this third generation, sort of on the dole type thing. So I was just sort of looking at that thinking, what could you do a bit differently? And my idea was like, well, it'd be cool if we had our own golf precinct, 9 holes, and have everyone get trained up. If we get the course really good and well known, then everyone that works there, whether it's in the hospitality or on the grounds crew, they could get a job anywhere in the world. So that was the idea, right? That was the idea.
Yeah.
But so there was a 9-hole course in town that was coming up for lease. You know what I mean? And then so we tried to get it. There was 3 people bidding for it. It was the people that ran the pool.
Yeah.
And then 2 golf operators. Who do you reckon got it?
The pool.
The pool, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
No. No.
Yeah, so we ended up, so then I basically turned to the guy who I was, in my foundation. I said, you know what, stuff it. We're going to build a course at 7 Mile Beach. So it started off a bit of a spite project. But I always knew the potential of the place. And that's when I actually seriously looked at, well, there must be a reason why. Because you've got 900 hectares down here. There's no development down here. If this was in Sydney or Melbourne, this would have been one of the greatest suburbs, in Australia.
Yep.
Nothing here.
Yeah.
So I was sort of looking at, there must be sort of an ecological or a geomorphology or Aboriginal heritage, cultural heritage values. There's got to be a reason why not.
Yeah.
And there wasn't anything. Yeah. The only thing was there's a large sand mine in sort of the flatter areas. Okay. So I approached the government, all the areas outside the sand mine, and it really was the success of Barnbougle because they saw how successful that was and the tourism numbers there, because most people in government have no idea what I'm talking about if you come and say you want to build a golf course. Because they first think it's like elitist and on all this sort of stuff, when they don't understand that if you look in most clubhouses or most car parks of every golf course in Australia, it's pretty much working class people. There aren't many, it's tradies, it's just normal people who love golf.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have to be. It's the highest participator sport in Australia. Like, there's not enough elites to do that. You know what I mean? If it's true. The most, if the highest participation sport.
That's true.
So then the government, I would say the success of Barnbougle gave them the confidence to be like, okay, you can have a crack at it. Wow. Because I just knew the land was screaming for a golf course.
Yeah.
But then that just started the journey of like how you actually execute on it.
Yeah.
And then it's not only just building the golf courses, then now how do you build a business around it? So it's sort of like, it's still going.
It's in
still
progress.
Still going. Come back to me later. See whether it's a good idea or not.
Well, that was my next question, right? My next question was, what does the execution look like? And you're golf pro, you played a lot of places, had a lot of experience on golf courses. What did you experience that you didn't expect in developing one? And what was the process? Walk me through it.
Well, the biggest thing was becoming an expert in a lot of things I had no desire or interest in becoming an expert in.
Like what?
Well, it's like dealing with consultants and planning.
Oh, yeah.
Council, dealing with. So basically we're on Crown land where it's managed by Parks and Wildlife, which sits under NRE. And then you've got, it's in Clarence Council.
Okay.
Right, so you've got those 4 to deal with to begin with from a bureaucracy standpoint.
Ooh, yeah.
And then your neighbour is a sand mine, which is Mineral Resources Tasmania, who is another whole separate animal in government that has an opinion on everything you want to do. So you basically have 5 organisations. And you've got the airport, 3 kilometres away. So they want to have a say in everything you want to do.
Oh boy.
So it really gums up the work. And you're doing a lot of meetings and a lot of discussion around trying to educate people on what you're trying to do.
Okay.
And then naturally in government, there's so much attrition in roles. So
re-educate the next guy.
Exactly. So it's where if they don't understand golf, you're starting from scratch again. And you're having the same conversations over and over again.
Wow.
So just through having the same conversation over and over again, you get pretty good at understanding the topic.
And the sticking points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What were some of the sticking points? What were some of the challenges?
Well, like every business, it's like capital is one of the big problems.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like when
It's not cheap to build a golf course.
No, it's not cheap to and when we started off, there was a housing element and another element.
Okay.
Which we sort of got through council, but didn't get through rezoning. So we had some of the investors drop off, and then you sort of looking at changing the model and how that all works. And really, it was the permit was getting to a point where it might lapse.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine, we felt like we'd won getting the golf course permit because it took us 4 years and like all this sort of negotiation stuff just to get to that point.
Yeah.
To then win but not do it just seemed like a non-starter for me. Like, we have to do this.
Yeah.
So I guess I was just crazy enough to then just we basically wanted to get substantial commencement, which sort of validates your permit. Anyone who's in development sort of would understand that you sort of get a time frame to do some material commencement.
Okay.
The tricky thing out here is that we hit COVID, right? And what council decides is materially commencing. You know what I mean? It's like if you pull down all the trees, no, that doesn't. If we build the golf course, well, no, the golf course could grow back over. So you're like, well, what have we got to do? You know, it ended up we built it like the 4-kilometre road. But that, you know, we were going to get substantial commencement, and then just have a break, validate the permit, and then look at like, well, exactly what is this? Yep. How are we going to raise the money? Or what do we want it to be?
Yeah.
What is the final model? Because it was always sort of that sort of Barnbougle destination resort model.
Yeah.
But then we just decided to keep going. We just kept going. We just kept just month to month. We just kept doing stuff and doing stuff. And then it got to the point where it's like, it's done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Before you know it.
Before you know it. Well, yeah, 3 years, whatever, 4 years later.
I love that. Tell me, I'm just thinking about the appetite for risk. Your appetite for risk must be pretty big, right? Would you say that?
Yeah. I guess it depends depends how you do the project. If you take on a lot of debt, that's risk.
Yeah.
Right. If you're using investors' money who believe in the project, like the risk is we lose our money. Yeah, but it sort of doesn't flow on beyond that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And if you have the right people as partners, they're not risking, you know, anything that they can't afford to lose. No one wants to lose money, but we all we believed in this so much and what it could be that, you know, I think when you say risk appetite, I think risk is when you start loading things with debt and making it to the point where if something slightly goes wrong, you lose everything. As opposed to like, we're always going to own this. It's just like, well, do we have to change the model? Do we have to, what do we need to do to, you know,
make it work.
To make it work, as opposed to if you have, you know, if you've borrowed money and stuff like that, well, you sort of have a little bit more pressure from the outside.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Tell me about the business model itself. So what options did you have going into this in terms of business models for golf courses?
So we always thought of it as a sort of Barnbougle Dunes of the South, right? But then the golf world, it has changed quite a bit. So the destination resorts are good, but the membership model in Australia is kind of broken.
Tell me about that. Why is it broken?
Well, if you think of, and this sort of goes back to high net worth individuals, they don't want exclusivity. They want privacy. You know what I mean? So if you're, you know, if you run a company, then you're a member at Royal Melbourne or a member at Royal Sydney. That takes 15 years to get in there. Then when you get in there, it's exclusive, but it's not a very private experience, and it can be quite hectic, and it can be 200 people playing on the weekends, getting in on a Thursday on the computer to try and book your tea time and all that sort of stuff. So you sort of, it's exclusive, but it's not a great experience anymore. It wasn't the experience it was for our parents or grandparents when they first got in. And it was just sort of they had the place to themselves. There's only a few members. I mean, you got places like Royal Sydney that has 2,500 members and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, there is definitely a yearning for that privacy, time and space. So that's sort of where we're pivoting to, is that no one's really taken that American membership model. And I think there is now a cohort of people my age or a little older who have, you know, had a great run, and they're looking for their thing. They're looking for their place, you know, and so we're going to try and provide that for them. So the model really pivoted. So it's basically so we have one course will be always open to the resort players, and one course will always be open just for membership play.
Nice.
So they'll operate very differently, but we've kind of separated the area into what we call sort of Pinnacle House and then base camp. So base camp is like where all the action is, where all the energy is. That's where we'll have the pizzeria and the beer and all the putting greens and bean bags and the driving range. And when I say driving, not like a Top Golf thing, but just like the practice facility. And that's where sort of the resort player comes, or the members come, and they enjoy a more casual, lively, social atmosphere. But if Pinnacle House will be a very quiet, private area where you can take your friends up and just have a quiet drink, you know, take in the golf course or take in your day away from all the energy and the hectic. So it's kind of trying to blend both.
I love that. Yeah, it's a really thoughtful design. I can hear and see the experiences you've had around the place that you've really loved and what you haven't loved, and you've kind of mashed them together and say, if I was wanting to be somewhere, if I was wanting to call a golf course home, what would I want?
Yeah, and you don't want just one or the other. That's the thing, right? Like we all have our great, you know, golf trips, or you know, and you know, we get a bit loud, we have a bit of fun. You have those sort of, and like that's great. Because then sometimes it's just like you just. There's a guy who's a member of a course in where I used to live in Scottsdale, called Scottsdale National. It's $1 million to join. Right?
What?
$1 million to join, and then it's probably $30,000 a year to be.
What?
But he doesn't even play golf. Right?
I'm sorry.
Exactly. See, here's a guy. He's like a billionaire or something.
Yeah.
But everywhere he goes, he gets hassled. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
But he knows that when he goes inside these gates, he sits down and has like a coffee or a lunch.
Yeah.
And it's just like the only place he can get his peace and quiet. Now, if we look at that, it's like, that's crazy, right? That's insane.
To him, worth it.
To him, totally worth it.
Yeah.
He'll pay anything for it.
Wow.
Just to have somewhere where he can just feel like he can relax and not have to, you know, be the CEO or the celebrity or whatever. So, so it's a really interesting dynamic, I find. And Tara Iti in New Zealand, which is sort of an American club that's in Tara Iti that is fantastic. They have a lot of Australian members. You're finding a lot of people from Sydney are joining the Hills, which is this course in Queenstown. And we're looking at it going, well, why are you all going to New Zealand? Come here. And we'll give you the best of both. And you won't have to deal with Auckland Airport. And you'll be able to there's 15 flights a day here. Do you know what I mean? All those sorts of things. So that's sort of where the model is pivoted to.
Okay.
But, I mean, and there's also two other ways you can look at it. Sort of like your membership can build the infrastructure and your resort play can drive the profits of the club, if you like. So, I mean, like Pinehurst Resort, which is a you know, famous resort in America, they have 11 golf courses, thousands of members. But their goal, from a business standpoint, is to have 50% of their operations paid on January 1st. So when the membership dues come out, they come back in. So they know half their costs are covered.
Love it.
You know what I mean? And that sort of, you know, gatekeeps the business from that cyclical. Golf's booming, golf's down. Weather's good, weather's bad. Winter, summer, all that sort of stuff. So you kind of, from a business standpoint, it makes sense. Even though the bringing in a membership creates a whole new dynamic you have to deal with. Do you know what I mean? From a service, from you know, now you've got sort of 400 people that feel like they own the place, or 300 people that feel like they own the place. You know, well, if someone's just coming in, paying, going. And the other thing is that members, that's wholesale golf. Do you know what I mean? So like they're not paying
margin on their membership.
So if they play 300 times a year, like they're playing golf for like, you know, $20 a day. Well, one person comes in and plays $290. It's worth, you know what I mean? So I mean, so you got to, you know, that's why golf clubs do tend to struggle a bit, because it's getting that balance between how much you can actually charge for a membership versus what you actually offer. And just offering a round of golf isn't enough.
No.
To get people to pay serious money.
Wow. So it's quite complex, because I was going to ask about what...
I told you to get nerdy.
I love this. This is exactly what I'm after. So I was going to ask, how reliant will you be on tourism? And so you've kind of already answered that in the model itself being very balanced. But I guess I'll ask your perspective at the same time. Like how heavily is tourism going to influence 7 Mile Beach and the success of it?
Yeah, I think having 36 holes enables you to go to that model.
Yep.
I think if you didn't have 36 holes, it'd be very difficult. You'd have to be one or the other because you've got competing interests.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So this way we can have a quiet, and the nice thing about actually having a quiet course is it gives the ground state, it gives it time to breathe.
Yeah.
Because, during the summertime, these grasses, they don't love summer.
Yeah.
They're cool weather grass. If you have a hot summer and you have a really busy golf course,
Yep.
so you're just trying to find the right balance.
Yep.
You're just trying to find the right balance. I mean, you're not trying to make it, you always want to make money, but at what cost? At
Yep.
what long-term cost? What damage you're doing to the course if you have too much resort play? Yep. What's the experience like for the person? Like if we're really looking to base ourselves around having incredible hospitality, if you have too many people out there, can you actually service them right? Are they going to have the experience you want them to have? Because that's the most important thing to me is the experience they have, not whether I got their $290. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Big time. Hey, sorry to interrupt, but that is the end of part 1. Part 2, though, is already released and is ready for you to listen or watch. So head on over to the next episode to continue the story.